The white bird rose up once again, laser cannon in its wings. It was a moving sight. In my heart, though, I wished it didn't have to be used in war.
None of them found out why the enemy targeted the base until much later. Of course, by that time, it was too late.
We had a pretty large bang associated with the caution and warning now. Okay, as we have an apparent serious oxygen leak. 4, 3, 2, 1. Houston, we've had a problem. He's in a roll and he can't stop it. Performing an evasive maneuver. Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. I think we need to do a little more all-weather testing. Welcome to space.
Hello, listener, and welcome to Failure to Launch, the space history podcast where we take you through every mistake, failure, and explosion that made modern space exploration possible. We are your hosts, Quinn, he, him.
Chris, he, him.
And Missile Destroyer Goomrock of the glorious Yuktobanian Navy, he, him.
And today, we're going to be talking about the Arkbird, the crown jewel of Osean science, and how it was hijacked into a weapon of war. So how's everyone doing? This is one that I've been very excited about for a while.
I'm barely caffeinated, but I am here and excited.
Nice.
I'm not caffeinated at all, but I'm excited to see what this is going to become.
Yeah, this is definitely this is one that we have been requested a lot. A lot of fans from, all over have requested this. This is probably one of the most, I'll say, it's a very complicated one because this is definitely one of the most famous spacecraft ever built. It was built as this international cooperation and turned into this weapon of war. And I think there's so much interesting to say about it that a lot of people already know, but there is also so much kind of buried under the surface and a whole lot of, I want to say misconceptions about the Arkbird that I think will be very educational and illustrative for our listeners.
Nice. You have my interest.
I'm going to take a wild swing and say that you guys had heard of the Arkbird before, right? What was your impression of it?
It's been something that had a place in my heart since childhood.
Yeah. And what about you, other Chris?
Same. I grew up playing this game. I grew up staring at the Arkbird.
Fail RP!
Listen, I have to break it at least once.
Yeah.
I'm gonna crush your head.
I explicitly have a point at the end where we can break character. I'm sorry.
Listen, it's hard to not at least at the opening where we talk about the glorious, beautiful bird.
Oh, yeah. The white bird, the great white wings, all of that, a bunch of different names for a spacecraft, a vehicle that has served a bunch of different, it has been a bunch of different symbols throughout its life. Also, as we get into this, the main source that I used for this episode is the Encyclopedia Strange Reel, which has compiled a number of articles about the Arkbird from scientific journals, magazines, and the like. As always, all sources will be linked down below in the show notes.
Cold War history.
We gotta talk about the big stupid rock.
Oh, we gotta talk about a bunch of stupid things. The rock will come later. Now, unlike a lot of stories involving various nations' superweapons, this one actually does not start with asteroid Ulysses 1994 XF04, but rather it starts back in the 80s, in the waning years of the Cold War between the Union of Yuktobanian Republics and the Osean Federation. For decades, both sides had been kept reasonably safe by the concept of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, the idea that winning a nuclear war is impossible because both sides have more than enough firepower to destroy the other several times over. Basically, the only way to win is not to play. And yet, that idea never seems to stick with military leaders who, throughout history and even today, always view MAD as a challenge to overcome. If they just figure something out, if they just build a good enough weapon, they can win a nuclear war. In this story, the example is the Osean Strategic Defense Initiative, or SDI, though you at home may know it by its mocking nickname, Star Wars. Basically what this was is it was a missile shield designed to shoot down Yuktobanian ballistic missiles before they could reach mainland Osea. It did this with a network of ground-based ABM launchers and space-based interceptors, so like kinetic kill vehicles, lasers, all that kind of fun stuff. And when it went online in the 80s, do you know what happened? Was mutually assured destruction defeated and Yuktobania gracefully bowed to Osean dominance? No. Instead, it ratcheted up tension, and the Yuks just changed their weapons to defeat the new Osean defenses. It was an arms race. You don't just win it definitively. Specifically, the Yuks invested in better missiles armed with MIRV, multiple independent re-entry vehicle warheads that could just overwhelm the SDI. And they built a bunch of new mobile launch platforms to get those missiles so close to Osean coasts that they would basically have no time to respond. You, the listeners, I know, I always forget, I checked the analytics, I think something like 40%, either 40% or 60% of the listeners are Osean.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that tracks, yeah.
But yeah, listeners may know these as the Scinfaxi and Rimfaxi mega submarines.
Of the Scinfaxi-Class, a beautiful lineage, if I do say so.
Fucking yeeb.
So what if they made good submarines? The step up. Where are your submarines?
Jokes aside, it is this kind of like, you build the missile shield, and what does the other side do? Do they give up? No, they build better weapons to punch through your missile shield.
I mean, that's just weapons development forever.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's how it has always worked.
But that's never how these projects are presented. It's never how they're pitched, and it's never how they convince people.
Presented as a solution to a question, but the problem is that question is constantly changing.
Yes, but every single politician, every time they go out in front of a vote, every time a military leader convinces a politician that they need something, it's always presented as, this is the thing. If you give me this money... Finally, this is the one that we'll never need another one after this. Bro, this time for sure, please, we just need more lasers.
Yeah, hey, listen, we've solved a third of this known system. Don't worry about that one.
Whoop-de-doo.
What do you mean there's laser over there? I don't recognize that.
Who cares what Aruja's doing? So, after both sides had spent hundreds of billions of dollars and raised tensions almost as much as the missile crisis, mutually assured destruction was still in place. Whoop-de-doo.
A shocker. Again, they just continued we can do this now.
All right, well, we clearly just need to push this further.
What if we just added a new dial and cranked it just a little bit?
Just a little further.
They surely won't respond.
We're at 11. What if we went to 11.1?
11.2, they would never touch it.
They would never. And where a normal person might realize the futility and danger of pursuing this arms race, the generals of the Osean Air Force did not. Again, they viewed the new Yuk subs as a challenge to be overcome, and that, if they just built a super weapon super enough, they would win the Cold War. Quote, recognizing that their ABM defenses would be outpaced by these new penetration aids and launch platforms, the Osean National Department of Advanced Technological Research, OW, developed the concept of a maneuverable spaceborne interception platform that would utilize atmospheric friction to change its orbit, allowing it to seek out and engage ballistic missile launches in their boost phase when they would be most vulnerable.
So, yeah, before they can separate.
Just still, like, how? How are you going to catch them? You're in orbit, and it's one, like, to be completely clear, this plan only ever called for one platform, one Arkbird with one
the
laser.
Hope is that you'll be, in the optimal position to be able to hit, an ICBM before it can deploy its MIRVs.
Not to mention, there's 2 of these subs, Just that means the Yuks they've kind of got you fucked. Even if you're perfectly in place over one of them.
I mean, you better just hope your landborne systems are capable enough.
Yeah.
You better hope that the Yuktobanian economy is struggling and they're having issues keeping up with the maintenance requirements for one of their submarines, and she has to live in berth for a while.
What do you mean? They've been strong.
I know we are a space history podcast. I know I want to see like a Covert Shores video on this. I want to have Covert Shores on for this. I want to talk about the Scinfaxi and Rimfaxi, just like something that huge, made of titanium, just dump trucking your economy. Not that Osea was not also guilty of dump trucking their economy into weapons. Yeah, so just all kinds of like weird weapon developments going on. And concurrent with all of this, Osea was also developing the Strategic Orbital Linear Gun, or SOLG, a giant orbital rail cannon that was designed to smash Uke missile silos before they could launch. And this is another one of those kind of like convenient holes in the history a little bit. Like, Osea has always presented these weapons as defensive, but how are you going to hit a silo before it launches unless you're hitting first? You know, like, or are they just counting on the Ukes state, like taking turns? Different silos get to go first.
Unless, I don't know, they just somehow develop kinetic MIRVs to take care of just silo farms, then they're just going to launch.
But even then, like, they'd have to know before. Like, it's I'm not debating the effectiveness. I'm just saying I think for all Osea claims this thing to be defensive, it's very clearly made to be a first strike weapon.
Oh, that's what I'm arguing too, and it doesn't really work that great as one.
Oh no. And do not worry, we are also definitely going to be talking about the SOLG in a future, a future series, really. And I'm sorry if all of this is a little ranty, but I wanted to get this out of the way early because a lot of people have a lot of, like we said, misconceptions about the Arkbird. Namely, that it was a tool of science and peace that was later perverted into a doomsday weapon. It wasn't. It was a weapon first and became a tool for science later. That's why it was so easy and so quick to turn it back into a weapon, but I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. In the end, what stopped this batshit plan wasn't rationality, it was Belka.
Where have I heard this one before?
I'm sure most people remember this from school, but to give a rundown of the history here, starting in the 1980s, the Balkan Federation went into a deep economic downturn, all while dump trucking more and more marks into weapons projects. This is also another one of those historical misconceptions that a lot of people have. All of those famous Balkan superweapons of the 1995 war, like Excalibur, the giant Resvelger flying fortress, and advanced laser-armed concept fighters, these were all the result of Balkan projects started more than a decade earlier. These were the pre-fascist government of Belka that started these.
These were continuation projects.
Yeah. Just keep that in mind whenever people try and tell you, like, no, Belka only had like one problematic period of its history, and then they sorted it.
Instead of just tripping on their own face and hitting the floor repeatedly.
Like Weimar Belka had its own incredibly fucked up nationalist problems. And obviously, none of this helped its massive economic problems. And instead of just maybe not building more weapons, the Balkans went so far as to allow their eastern provinces to secede in the famous 1987 Federal Law Review. So this is what creates Gebet, Rekta, and Ustio. When things didn't get better, Belka decided to sell its Great Lakes territory to neighboring Osea. Osea got a hefty discount on the purchase, and in exchange, Belka was promised the profits of any resource extraction in the region. It's kind of convoluted, but yeah, basically, a joint Osean-Belkan mining company was set up, and all of the profits would go to Belka as they just strip mine the Great Lakes. This turned out to be a very bad decision because the Oseans actually played the Balkans. They falsified records of how much wealth was in the Great Lakes region and made it seem to be a treasure trove when really it wasn't. So very quickly, this mining corporation just goes bankrupt. There is no money to be made. The Oseans have bought a whole bunch of territory for basically nothing, and Belka gets nothing in return.
You know, it's kind of shocking this isn't talked about later on.
I was just going to ask, did you guys learn about that in Osean schools?
You know, shockingly, this isn't talked about.
For what it's worth, Nordland schools did not touch on it that much either. Just in fairness. I had to go hunting this stuff down on the interwebs, but...
I hate this. The interwebs is a fucking, universally, transferable term.
Yeah. Yeah. Square brackets. It's still called Earth. It's still, the internet. What if a main difference is that instead of the internet, the minor little intranets existed instead?
Oh, yes.
Every city just has its own and there's no connection between them.
Welcome to BelkanNet. We're never on here.
Going to, if you ever see a .bk at the end of a website, steer fucking clear. I pride myself on checking all of our sourcing, and you will never, listener, see a .bk on any of the sources I give, okay? Hold me to that.
We are a strident anti-Belkin podcast.
No, if it's good, I trust it. If it's let's say some Belkin revisionist history, I don't. We just finished talking about like a minor thing in favor of the Belkans, which is that Osea absolutely fucked them out of their territory, and in doing so, likely pushed them to what we're going to talk about next.
At the same time, yeah, I don't think this is the last we're going to hear about the Belkans getting a creative.
Yeah. So this is the part that pretty much everyone knows from school. With its economy in freefall and large chunks of its quote-unquote ancestral territory either seceded or sold, Valdemar Rald and his Liberal Democratic Party swept into power with the aim to, quote, restore strength and stability to the nation. And I fucking hate Osean political parties. I mean Osea here, the continent. Because, like, all of the fascist parties are named shit like the Liberal Democratic Party, and then you've got, like, the Socialist Workers' Party of Communism, and they're a bunch of centrists or something.
Pain.
Yeah, that was definitely something I have thought about at some point, too.
Make them more descriptive. Don't let people hide behind stuff like that. So yeah, after consolidating all government power in himself, Rald declared the old Federal Law Review null and void, laying claim to Gebet, Recta, and Ustio. Shortly after, on March 25th, 1995, Belka launched a multi-pronged invasion of its neighbors, and the Belkan War began. While short, only lasting about 3 months, the Belkan War cost countless lives and dramatically reshaped the geopolitical landscape for decades to come. The Cold War ended overnight. The Union of Yuktobanian Republics, Osea's longtime rival, declared war on Belka and came to the aid of their old enemy. When the Belkans sealed themselves off behind a wall of atomic warheads, it shocked the world into a new era of peace and demilitarization. And I know that most of our listeners are a bit more cynical than that. Like politicians on both sides of the Ceres Ocean like to pretend that the Belkan War ended so quickly and cleanly. They don't like to talk about military units going rogue or resistance movements in newly annexed, quote, North Osea, or, the infamous pilots mutiny. A lot of that, it's messy. They don't like to bring it up. It's it's dissension among the ranks, basically. But at the end of the day, all of that stuff aside, the world was a lot more peaceful in 1996 than it was a year earlier. It just sucks that that's how it got there.
Being a Neustian, I'm okay with the Belkans nuking themselves just a little bit.
Okay, all right.
Hot take, I know, but...
white hot take.
I'm literally always saying this. Cancel me on X, the everything app.
X.bk, the everything app.
7 was not enough.
I'm bleeping that. Square brackets, X.bk is such a good bit.
Listen, if you get enough people just say it, I'm pretty sure Grok will pick it up.
Yeah. Grok, what can you tell me about the Belkan genocide? The genocide of Belkans in North Osea?
Stop. Your hand is on the lathe. I need you to take it off.
With the Cold War over and Yuktobania and Osea committed, at least for now, to working toward peace, the plans for an anti-missile space plane were scrapped. When they were revived a few years later, it wouldn't be as a weapon, but still for a very grim purpose: cleaning up the devastation left behind by the Ulysses asteroid. Quote, though Osea and Yuktobania were not directly impacted by the planetfall, much of their orbital infrastructure was damaged when Ulysses disintegrated, and countless micrometeoroids were left in near-Earth orbit, inhibiting redevelopment. Faced with the daunting task of cleanup, along with Stonehenge's diminishing relevance, Osea and Yuktobania agreed to collaborate on a high-atmosphere mobile spacecraft based on the Cold War concept to clear satellite orbits of debris. This is notably different than most of the superweapons and megaprojects developed in the late 90s. So you've got like Stonehenge in Erusia, Chandelier in Estevakia, the massive Grace Maria mega bunkers, and the laser satellites that actually, wound up being hijacked by Usean rebels that one time. All of those were designed to attempt to stop or mitigate the damage of Ulysses. The Arkbird, as a peaceful scientific tool, was designed to clean low Earth orbit of debris after Ulysses. And while grim, I do need to point out that it would also be the first major instance of space cooperation between the Osean Aerospace Bureau and the Yuktobanian space program. This was the formal beginning of the Arkbird.
Hallelujah.
The white bird flies.
The White Bird.
Now, right off the bat, I do need to be clear. The Arkbird was not well suited to its new job. It was picked largely because it was a pre-existing design, and most of Osea's strategic defense initiative was already smashed to bits by asteroid fragments. Remember, the whole point of the Arkbird was that it was highly maneuverable and had to be to hunt down Yuktobanian submarines. You don't really need that to hunt bits of rock trapped in stable, predictable orbits. Yes, in fairness, the ability to radically change its orbit by aerobraking was used to allow it to cover more of LEO. Basically, the one spacecraft, the one Arkbird, was able to cover high inclination, low inclination. It was able to move around and do its job. But it has been pretty succinctly argued that the same result could have been achieved faster and cheaper with a fleet of smaller satellites.
I still love the idea that we need to change, orbit quickly. So you dive into the atmosphere, rip shitties, and then exit.
Hey, if it works, design-wise, I love the Arkbird. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it is very good. It was very good at what it did.
It also looks very graceful, I gotta say. It's a beautiful design.
Oh, yeah. And my pedantic ass aside about whether it was perfect for the job, the Arkbird was successful in its new goal. It did get the job done. Construction of the spacecraft started in orbit in 1999, shortly after Ulysses' fall, mostly through chunks of hull being launched with the mass driver at Bassett Space Center in Osea. And to kind of show the depth of the cooperation here, the OAB gave the Yuktobanian Space Agency partial ownership of the Space Center. It was operated cooperatively.
Huh.
And another misconception of the Arkbird, no, it was not launched whole, and it did not fly its way into space. Despite looking like a huge plane, it was a spacecraft first and spent the vast majority of its lifespan safely up in orbit. Taking a second to talk about that design, the White Bird, as fans lovingly call it, was what I call a lifting body. As opposed to a normal aircraft where the wings provide most or almost all of the lift, the Arkbird's fuselage was blended in such a way that the fuselage did most of the aerodynamic work.
Looks like an extremely fanciful hypersonic skip glider.
Yeah. And at the same time, this might be a little contentious because if you look at the Arkbird, it looks like a flying wing. It looks like it's all wing. And this is kind of one of, where does the wing start? Where does the fuselage end? If you actually look at the design of the Arkbird, the vast majority of what you see is the fuselage. And the wings are kind of just those two little stubby flaps
nubbins
at the
end.
Yeah, which are mostly there for atmospheric control. Construction of the Arkbird's hull was completed in 2004, and it entered a period of semi-operation. It wasn't fully ready to go, but they needed it to go sooner. This is 5 years after Ulysses' fall, so it's 5 years of orbit basically being, you cannot occupy orbit. You cannot launch rockets, new satellites, new exploration, new nothing. So it was pretty critical to get that going. Quote, it was to be equipped with a Yuktobanian laser on the upper hull and an Osean laser on the lower hull, with missile ports meant to divert larger meteoroid fragments. However, concerns over potential military applications of the lower laser led to it being struck from the design. Keep that in mind, it was struck from the design, but it was still built.
Almost like a, for but not with theory.
Planning for the next war, something. Trust but verify? I don't know. But yeah, even without the big laser, the Arkbird was successful in cleaning up low Earth orbit, getting rid of an estimated 80% of Ulysses' debris by 2008.
That's actually insane.
Oh yeah, just consider how much was up there. Although to be fair, this is 80% of detectable debris, and there's only, if you're
within a certain threshold, fair enough.
Yeah, it's still pretty polluted up there, from what I understand.
Atmosphere is just filled with pebbles.
Yeah, it's just gravel hail every other day.
It's still really rough sending satellites up. You have to get it through the gravel fields first.
You have to get it through the, just shot blaster known as space.
And to cap off this achievement and firmly anchor its symbolism as an international bridge to space, the Arkbird played host to the 2008 G7 meeting.
Oh, Pog.
Okay, so you reacted to that very differently than I did. I kind of rolled my eyes at it when I heard.
Arkbird mentioned.
Well, yeah, fine. There was that. I like the cool thing. I liked seeing the cool thing in the news whenever I was I would have been like 12 at this point. But yeah, I have every respect for Vincent Harling for the work he put into ending the war and for his full-throated continual support for peace. That said, I would be pretty naive if I didn't see this all as at least partially an Osean show of force. Like, bringing everybody onto their new giant, like, even if it's not a weapon, it's still...
Quinn, I think that the root of your feeling comes from jealousy that you didn't get to go into space.
I was 12.
My point stands.
We were... Nordland's was there. We're in the G7.
But you personally did not get to go into space.
Little me.
And some politician
The PM did, yeah.
You were personally slighted by this.
Regardless, this was still a positive step toward peace. I won't go over the entire Arkbird declaration, though you'll find it linked below, and I would highly recommend reading it. In it, the nations of Osea, Yuktobania, Veruza, Nordlands represent, Central Osea, Ania, and Erusia committed to nuclear disarmament and limits on weapons test, with the Secondary Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty and Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty respectively. Throughout the document, the Arkbird itself is used as an allegory for the crossroads that the world's most powerful nations faced. It was created for war, specifically as part of an infinite arms race that it would not have stopped, but it found a new use in peace. It was designed to face Yuktobania, and yet Yuk engineers were critical in its construction and mission. The only laser cannon it wound up with at that time was Yuktobanian. And as a side note, the document also includes a note on the regret that neither Osea nor Yuktobania aided the nations hit hardest by Ulysses, Erusia, Estevakia, focused as they were on rebuilding after the Balkan War. And this is another one that may be a little bit of diplomatese. I don't know what the fuck Yuktobania was trying to rebuild after the Balkan War, let alone Osea. Far be it from me to accuse them of just looking at the trajectory and going, we'll mostly be fine.
Shrug shoulders, let it hit.
Yeah.
Quinn, I like to think about that quote now, because it's like, they're focusing on rebuilding after the Balkan War. What would they be rebuilding possibly? I don't know. The revving up the military-industrial complex to resupply the world's supply of planes.
Yeah, maybe getting some pilots trained up by some nice experienced men from Belka.
Wait a second. That .BK is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
Yeah, and like, I'm biased. I'm not Osean. This is not a secret. I do think that a lot of the, like, everything is because of Belka. A lot of that coming from Osea and Yuktobania is because they know that a fair bit of it is also their fault. You didn't have to let Grunder in. You didn't have to let Ofnir and Grabacher in.
But they were whispering such good things.
But they were good at planes.
I love how it is like the transcendent evil guy is like the mega corporation amongst all of this.
You want the iPhone S88
Yeah, their stock
Platinum?
is in the toilet right now, but, go online. North Grunder's still there.
It's because they make the iPhones there.
How many times does a company have to do this for people to realize that it's not just a couple of bad apples at the top?
It's in there.
All right, Valdemar Rald.
I'm going to sit here and just stare at the Ustian flag, as is my right.
So to get back to it, the Arkbird Declaration ends with a poem, though it loses something translated to Osean. Quote, "We conclude that we are entering an era where cooperation is replacing conflict. The world belongs to all of us. Let us all use it in peace. A new journey toward the horizon spreading before our eyes and towards far-off space." Now, who's ready to learn how that all got fucked up?
Angry Time, our favorite.
Hell
I love Angry Time.
The Gray Men.
The Nefarious Fox.
Now, while Yuktobania formally declared war on Osea on September 27th, 2010, the actual start of the Circum-Pacific War or Great War is a little muddier. Contemporary sources describe tensions between the two nations deteriorating quickly and with seemingly no concrete causes. There were aerial skirmishes off Osea's Sand Island, shoot-downs of spy planes, and just a general chaos, both sides lashing out without any clear goals. But it's also worth pointing out that Captain K. Nagase, future Osean astronaut, was an instrumental part of these early engagements and the war as a whole. We here at Failure to Launch are also not here to litigate the entire war. While we all know what set the conflict in motion, both sides like to use that I think both sides like to use that to excuse themselves of atrocities.
To wash their hands.
Yeah, and all too many of those were not Belkan false flags, but carried out by bona fide warmongers and hardliners on both sides. There is only so much you can blame on manipulation. It's like we said before, I think a lot of the everything is Belka's fault, or at least a fair amount of it. Belka, I don't know. I think the listener understands. I'm trying to find the middle ground between a lot of things. The middle ground of a lot of things are Belka's fault. The Arkbird was officially mobilized and nationalized by the Osean military 3 days into the war in response to Yuktobania deploying the Scinfaxi and Rimfaxi ballistic missile submarines. Bassett Space Center was also placed under full military control. It was effectively a rematch of the Cold War, both sides dusting off their old superweapons to see how well they'd work. As part of this, Osea also rushed to refurbish the Arkbird's laser cannon, the one that they had been worried might give impressions of military use. They refurbed it for military use. They kept it around for military use.
The one that they were absolutely itching to just stuff onto it anyways.
Yeah. And at the same time, Yuktobania rushed to prevent its launch. This culminated in a failed Yuktobanian assault on the Bassett Space Center, where the shuttle carrying the laser cannon managed to launch despite airborne landings and waves of cruise missiles striking the mass driver.
Yeah, it was shocking they didn't scrub that one.
There's some great footage.
Again, have to reiterate it. The fact they didn't scrub is a miracle.
Anytime you scrub, and it's not because a Yuktobanian cruise missile has struck your launch rail, you're a fucking pussy. You learned it here first, folks.
Unless you're getting actively shot.
If they launched through a fucking motor rifle battalion's worth of firepower, you can launch because of some bad weather.
Quinn, I hate that you had to say there's so much footage, because now I'm imagining a world in which there's just countless footage of like paradropped tanks having their chutes shot out and plummeting to the ground.
As a parachute guy, I will tell you that there is a lot of risk of jumping out of a plane in a vehicle while there is an active air war going on. A lot of splatters, a lot of very brave, very patriotic splatters.
Are you saying they ain't gonna jump no more?
Quinn, I just thought of another phrase. I don't know how we can apply it ever, but like splat earther.
Like, so someone who tries to find the middle ground, it's like Earth used to be round and then it got splatted and now it's flat. So, armed with its new cannon, the militarized Arkbird was instrumental in the destruction of the Scinfaxi. This was also the only time the spacecraft was used in its intended role, but it performed well. It shot the Scinfaxi's missiles out of the sky and damaged the sub with its laser cannon to the point that the sub had to surface and could then be sunk. It's also worth mentioning that the Cold War pantomime played out on the Yuke side too, because the Scinfaxi was able to punch through the Arkbird's missile defenses by just shooting a bunch more missiles, the same thing that everyone knew would happen back in the Cold War. In the end, though, the Scinfaxi was sunk, Yuktobania's first strike at Osea was crippled, and the Arkbird became a new symbol.
I'm sorry, but I gotta pour one out for the Scinfaxi. Also for Infaxi being all alone on itself now.
Poor mega sub loaded with death missiles.
Loaded with weapons from hell.
I meanwhile staring at the satellite. Wait a second.
So yeah, the Arkbird was not a symbol of peace anymore. It was Osea's avenging sword. And then it disappeared. During the lull between the Yuktobanian attack and Osea's counter-invasion, a shipment to the Arkbird was sabotaged. It exploded during docking, severely damaging the spacecraft and knocking it out of action. Sources from the time describe it being so damaged that it went completely silent, and in the chaos of the war, the public quickly forgot it. Then it suddenly became news again when it deorbited and crashed into the Ceres Ocean in unknown circumstances about 2 months later. And while it may sound crazy that people back then simply accepted this story, I want to emphasize the sheer pace of events back then and the level of propaganda that both sides, I guess all three sides really, were subjected to. The Ukes had sabotaged the Arkbird, and Osea would need to win the war the old-fashioned way. As the invasion was drawn up and commenced, as the news bombarded folks with victories, defeats, and casualties, it makes sense that people would just forget about the Arkbird, I think. It became old news. Now, thanks to documents declassified in 2020, we know what happened to the Arkbird and how it died. The Circum-Pacific War was pushed, if not orchestrated, by a faction of Belkan nationalists known as the Gray Men. Through their own actions and a lot of eagerness from their clients, They had infiltrated the governments and militaries of both Osea and Yuktobania. I mention eagerness because both superpowers willingly took this poison. Both recruited aggressor squadrons to help train their pilots, the 8492nd Grabacher in Osea and the 5th Squadron Ofnir in Yuktobania. Both superpowers worked with Belkan arms manufacturers like North Grunder Industries, and members of both governments were in on this and not, Belkan agents. They knew that President Harling and Prime Minister Nicanor were both kidnapped early into the war. Harling's VP led the country and never questioned or just, was in on the plan for the war.
With just full-throated support.
Yeah.
I also have to say, as like a retrospective, I know that like Gray Men is really evocative of like aliens, but like I always interpreted it as like the third party, like, think of gray like neutrality, even though in this case I
just kind of like not. In the shadows in the background.
It's the fact that it's like in the shadows in the background. I just always imagine these like suspicious guys with like, gray fedoras and trench coats and tinted sunglasses that are like up to no good.
I'm the exact opposite way. I'm just imagining actual like huge heads all the time. Just the suspicious forehead.
I think, yeah, you're right. It's like the smoke-filled room, the people in the shadows in the background pushing and prodding here and there.
Well, I just think about it in like the war sense, because you have the red side and the blue side, and then everything else is gray, and you don't know whose side they are on yet, but they're doing something.
Yeah,
right?
I played with army men too when I was a kid.
What color were they, Quinn? What
tan.
Color were they?
I don't know what you... Okay.
Are you a gray man?
What did you have in Ustio? Because I had tan, green, like, and then the rare ones were blue and gray.
OD green.
Now, as for the Arkbird, the sabotage was real and did real damage, though it was carried out by Belkan operatives instead of Yuktobanians. With an operational Arkbird, Osea had the power to drop laser strikes anywhere on the planet. They could have struck the Yuktobanian parliament in Sinagrad. So to turn the war into a quagmire that would destroy both sides, the Greymen decided not only to take it off the board, but to make it their own. As repair shuttles were ferried up to it, crews were rotated. Civilian astronauts were slowly replaced with military pilots, who just so happened to be loyal to the Greymen. This whole process took about 2 months, and even with the declassified documents, it's not exactly clear how it happened or how it went wrong. It seems likely that the plan was to peacefully and quietly transfer all the Osean astronauts out until only Belkan agents remained, but that didn't happen. Somehow, and he hasn't publicly said how, flight engineer John Harvard discovered the scheme and was subsequently taken captive by the Belkan operatives.
Quinn, I've been plagued with a vision.
What, like John Harvard? He's a cool dude.
No, no. I have been plagued with the vision after this sequence of events has been described to me.
Yeah?
It's Among Us. It's Among Us.
Oh my god, it is.
It's Among Us. Yeah, it's the Belkan Among Us.
It's Among Us on the Arkbird, and then slowly over time, more and more Belkan imposters are on board.
Yeah, it's the thing. Eventually, John Harvard is the only one left, and he's not sure if even he's Belkan or not.
Do they just like
I don't know if I'm Belkan or not.
Do they just like slide some sauerkraut across the table? What do you think?
Very slowly, he's noticing that all the space food packets are getting a lot more Belkan.
Is this fucking Spätzle?
Why's there sausage? So yeah, after this, flight engineer John Harvard discovers the scheme. He gets captured. He is held captive on the Arkbird. And from that point on, the Arkbird was fully under control of Belkan terrorists. Still, the shipments from Bassett kept coming. They first delivered new weapons. Custom-designed Belkan drones nicknamed Vogels, which means bird in Belkan. These are noteworthy for 2 reasons. First, they have, as far as I can tell, never been used or seen anywhere else. They were designed by Grunder specifically to outfit the Arkbird, and that development program had to have started in secret years before the war. Like, they did not use some off-the-shelf stuff. This is custom.
Like, this was at least going to be its trial run.
Yes.
And also, I'm not sure if you cover it later on, but these are a completely atmospheric platform too.
Oh yeah, that's the second point here. These drones could only ever have been used while the Arkbird was flying through the atmosphere, either as part of an attack or to defend it.
Mm-hmm. It's an air-breathing engine.
Yeah, like it's a fighter jet. It's an unmanned fighter jet. Yeah, like, so I don't know if they maybe plan to use it in attacks at some point, or if they purely thought it was to defend itself.
To expand launch platforms.
Now, the second weapon the Belkans launched was a single V-1 nuclear warhead, the same kind as the 7 that sealed off North Belka and ended the Belkan War. The Greymen had stolen it from a sealed-off arsenal under the Valdreich Mountains in Belka and smuggled it to the Bassett Space Center for launch. How they did that, I don't know. Although I think it's pretty fair to say at this point that the Bassett Space Center was also, I'll say, heavily infiltrated.
Quinn, think about it. Think about Paperclip, okay?
Okay, yeah, so everyone there is a fucking a Raldite. God damn it.
I mean, it's worth noting
I hate this fucking field, man.
It's worth noting almost everyone at that space port was probably also in Greyman pocket.
Oh yeah, and don't forget the Yuktobanian space program also got their fair chunk.
The Pepe Sylvia for this is like fucking mind-blowing, dude.
Yeah, it's a kielbasa, man.
Although considering, if you look at the technology that Belka had, I'm not sure, square brackets, I'm not sure what their thing would have been. Because in our world, it was rockets. That was the thing that both the US and the USSR wanted. But, Belka, I'm honestly thinking maybe lasers. Excalibur, the lasers mounted on Morgan. Because, everybody had nukes already. Yuktobania is, in lore, Yuktobanians are kind of the rocket experts. So, if I'm looking at one thing that Belka had that no one else did, I'm kind of thinking lasers.
I think it's the suborbital platform that's the big common link here.
Oh, the mirrors for Excalibur.
Yes.
Gotcha. Now, on the war front, by mid-December 2010, Osea's invasion of Yuktobania had bogged down. Despite occupying more than a third of the country in a rapid blitz, Osean units were stopped in the suburbs of Sinigrad and subsequently encircled by Yuktobanian counterattacks. Meanwhile, war fatigue on both sides escalated, and growing civilian movements, even student resistance cells in the Yuktobanian case, pushed for a negotiated peace. With Osea stalled, the Greymen decided they needed an atrocity to motivate Yuktobania to fight back. On December 19th, the Arkbird, commanded by an agent codenamed Adler, was ordered to shift to an orbit that would take it over Oktyabrsk City in Yuktobania, where they would deploy the V-1 warhead. So the story they're trying to tell here is, bogged down, Osea has resorted to nuclear weapons to try and regain the initiative. And from that point on, the entire world would see Osea as guilty, and Yuktobania would be motivated to drive them even further back. Thankfully, that did not happen. I want to keep this as close to real history as possible because this story frankly gets mythologized to hell and back, making the people involved who are justifiably actual heroes, the stories make them into demigods of legend. Basically, rogue elements in the Osean military were able to suss out the Greymen's scheme, similar to the resistance movement in Yuktobania that was able to save Serioja Nicanor from captivity. I probably mispronounced his first name.
It's all right. We know who you're talking about.
I should have practiced that one before. Nicanor I do respect, so I should have made an effort to pronounce his name properly. The famous Sand Island Squadron was dispatched to intercept the Arkbird and prevent it from carrying out its mission. This next part is one of the stories that's a little unclear. As the Osean Squadron intercepted the Arkbird, flight engineer Harvard managed to break free and sabotage the spacecraft before escaping in one of its re-entry capsules. Specifically, he jammed the Arkbird's controls so that it would dive deeper into the atmosphere. If you watch any interviews, Harvard has spoken openly about these events in the years past, and the Osean government has always no commented it. He has also repeatedly insisted that he does not consider himself a hero.
Quote, "I might have been a star up in the sky, but my name still doesn't deserve to be engraved on any monument."
So, very cool dude. I would recommend watching the interviews. However, he has never clarified if he knew about the plan to bomb Yuktobania. He's never said if he knew about the Osean Squadron and timed his escape, or if it was just really good luck. It's also not clear if his sabotage alone would have been enough to stop the Arkbird. It's entirely possible the Belkan agents could have fixed it in time. And I'm not saying all of this to denigrate what he did. This is simply for the sake of history and letting you know what we know. At the moment, the only person who knows is Harvard, and he's not talking. Even after all these years, it's still a story with a lot of holes in it. Regardless, things did work out. Harvard's sabotage crippled the Arkbird at just the right time to put it in reach of the Osean Squadron.
I was going to say, it could also just been a bit of serendipity if he managed to suss out that they were dipping into the atmosphere. Maybe just dropping them even lower would have just looked like the smart choice. Go ahead, waste fuel. You're going to have to get back up there if you want to do anything.
Even if you don't know about the plan to bomb Oktyabrsky, fuck them. Fuck your captors. Crash this fucking thing they've hijacked. That is a good idea.
That's what I'm saying. If he managed to suss out that they were going to be maneuvering already, why not just, you're going lower now?
Although...
Mr. Harvard, was getting caught part of your plan?
Although, at the same time, I do desperately want Air Force One, but about Harvard taking back the Arkbird by himself.
Oh my...
I know it's not realistic. I know it's not what happened. I just want to see... I want to see... Dude, you could even do like 0G and gravity, because when it's, in the atmosphere, when it's aerobraking, you can still have normal G fights. And then you get the cool 0G. It would rule.
He's getting absolutely rocked up in atmosphere, but gravity happens, and then watch out.
OBC, contact me. All of its defenses, the ones meant to peacefully clean space of Ulysses fragments, and those dreamed up purely as weapons, they all failed to protect it, and the Arkbird was successfully shot down. I also know that this is something that can be found in a lot of history textbooks. I know that this is something that a lot of people know, but it does bear repeating. Captain K. Nagase, future Osean astronaut and leader of the Pilgrim 1 deep space mission, was one of those who destroyed the White Bird. Someone who was reportedly inspired by the Arkbird as a great symbol of peace, having to break it once it became a tool of uncontrolled war. I don't know if I really have a lesson there. I just love that story.
It still hurts though. Just
damn inspiring.
Having to destroy what you looked
having
up
to destroy space stuff, dude.
Like outside of all of the different clothes it was draped in, just at the end of the day,
I philosophically vibe with your explanation, but I also love the simplicity of Chris's of just Spacebird. No.
Yeah, I love space stuff. But Quinn, I was afflicted by another vision. Do you remember? No. Do you remember during the height of like corporate posting on Twitter?
Oh yeah,
people would respond with like silence brand.
Yes,
but and then it would be like the spider crab with the laser eyes. I'm imagining that, but like with a dove with blue laser eyes.
Okay, fans, you need to make that
silence Belkin.
Silence Scinfaxi. Silence sub? Okay.
No, I'd be good with commissioning that for the Discord unironically.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I want a white dove with blue laser eyes, and it has to say silence Belkin.
Oh no, give all of the Vogels laser eyes too.
We don't want to give the bad guys laser eyes.
They're mine now. I don't care. They're mine. I can fix them.
The Vogels are innocent.
Free my boys.
Unless you want it to be like a really like NCD fucking like self-fellatiating piece, then you could do like silence Ulysses, and then it's the white dove with the laser eyes shooting rocks.
That feels like bad taste.
I still like silence Belkin or silence
merch. No, let's.
What do you mean? Why don't you want to? Okay, for starters, why is that
taste.
bad?
I don't want to put the rock on our merch.
Why is it bad taste?
We have a lot of Stovey fans, dude.
Okay.
Not a
Quinn,
lot.
I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. When I say silence Ulysses,
I know he's talking
about cleaning up the asteroid.
I know, but it's still like it's bringing it up. I don't want that mentioned in our merch. If that
I can't believe.
Yeah, I'm self-censoring. Sue me.
I can't believe that woke ruined talk about the asteroid that almost destroyed the planet.
What if we do it with the rest of the platforms?
You can't talk about that anymore.
You can't talk about the asteroid that wiped out tens of thousands of people.
You can't talk about the asteroid that destroyed 3 countries.
Listen,
yes.
I'm thinking, no, we just do it with all of the platforms. Give me Stonehenge, give me Chandelier, give me Megalith. Silence asteroid.
Also, Quinn, I love how like Ameria's response to Ulysses was, let's just build massive bunker system.
Yeah.
Let's turn into Albania.
Grace Maria, the ultimate bunker country.
Yeah.
Grace Maria, our capital city, is also a massive bunker.
It is a good story. It's that's why the Metro series is set there. It's perfect.
The Metro series canonically takes place in the Grace Maria bunker system.
You joke, but yeah. Have you not played it?
No, I'm sorry.
All right. Oh, dude, playing Stalker in the wastelands of Estevakia.
Quinn.
What?
Okay, they have so many things here. I'm looking at the trivia for Grace Maria. Grace Maria features a number of buildings and landmarks from the real world. These include the old Bandai Namco headquarters building, the Big Ben Clock Tower, the Brooklyn Bridge, an extended Golden Gate Bridge, and the RMS Queen Mary 2.
Wait, so the Golden Gate, that's the King's Bridge that gets fucked up.
Yeah, it's just the Stendo Golden Gate.
Wait, does Stalker take place in the Belgian exclusion zone?
Oh god. Yeah, Valdreich Mountains, it would have to. Oh, if you got to visit the castle, the one that's in AC5 and AC0,
Pog. Yeah,
that would
be amazing.
rule. I absolutely love, I was playing like Ace Combat Zero when you're doing the mission to fight the Resvelger, and you're flying out and you just notice the little castle off to your left, like, wait a second. I'm in the, okay.
Wait a second.
I recognize that castle.
Yeah.
I love how like that castle is like, it has seen war for hundreds of years.
Yes.
It has been there. It has been stood
nuked.
there to bear witness to mankind's violence upon one another.
Yeah, and then in that same mission in AC5, right next to the castle is a giant crater from, the 7. So yeah, we kind of went a little off topic there at the end.
Before we get too far into the reads, staring at everything we're talking about.
That, gentlemen, is the story of the high-atmosphere mobile spacecraft, the Arkbird and the White Bird. How do we all feel?
I can't believe that they abbreviated as hams, man.
Yeah, I'm glad that one didn't stick.
Yeah, well, what do you mean? It became steamed hams at the end of its life.
Yeah, like no one. I don't think Captain K Nagase would have made it as far as she did if she had to look up and with awe at hams.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. It works perfectly because
They call it the white pig.
In the end, it became steamed hams.
It's the arc of our deliverance, and it's also a bird.
Oh god, going Pepe Sylvia, but convincing myself that the hams acronym is also a Belkin plot. What could they have known? What the Black
Belka
Forest
is famous for their pork products.
Yeah, the Black Forest. That's where the ham comes from.
Do you just have like 8 cigarettes lit simultaneously in your hands right now?
It's the Nordland's way, sue me. Politeness and paranoia. I think it's fine to break kayfabe now because
we're finishing.
I did have a couple of notes of just like audience patrons. I hope you have enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun to make, and I don't know about you guys. I want to keep doing this for bonuses. I want to keep doing fictional stuff, but like in
Wait a
character.
second, it's still the Pacific Ocean and Antarctica.
Think about all the bits we could come up with.
We already did X.BK.
That's what I'm saying.
Fuck, we didn't do Brock. We said we were gonna do like Brock. Is this real?
I'm gonna have to become a hardcore Ustian nationalist for the next episode.
We would have to be Belkin citizens to be asking Brock anything on X.BK.
It's on their intranet.
It's on their intranet, yeah.
Wait a second. Okay, let's see. I border Ustio, Sapin, Ratio, Belka,
Of all
and
of them,
Recta. Oh god.
Sapin is the fucking like is just like 2 minutes to lunch ass writing.
The country of Ratio, get real.
One thing I wanted to talk about that I know we bandied this around in the chat, but I went back and I checked all of the wars. Ace Combat, I had no idea because I wasn't tracking the dates whenever I played these games. Ace Combat loves making huge world wars last practically no time whatsoever.
Yeah, and I was saying this in the chat, and which I guess I will repeat for the listener. Yeah. Like, Desert Storm and the effects that it has had on like modernist military writing have been just simply devastating.
Yeah, and I think you're right with that because the Belkan War in Ace Combat canonically lasts less than 3 months,
which is so weird to me too because it's like around the time that like the people, I'm assuming the people that would have been the writers for this stuff, like they would have lived through
like Vietnam.
I was thinking even more recent than that. If the writers were like in their 30s when they were writing this stuff in like the early 2000s or whatever, right? Like they would have lived through two Balkan wars, right?
Yeah.
They would have lived through the dissolution of the Soviet Union and then also Yugoslavia. So they lived through that. They lived through Desert Storm, and then subsequently would have lived through
like Chechnya,
the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan.
But yeah, and I'm sure they were just thinking in their head like Grenada. Everything's going to be like Grenada.
Which again, I'm thinking about like the Yugoslav wars and then subsequently the Kosovo war. Like those went on for a few years each. So like,
Oh yeah.
like it's not like our war was like over in a month.
And what's weird to me is that this was not like a continuing trend through Ace Combat. I just want to go through my list here. Like, the Balkan War is less than 3 months. The war between Osea and Yuktobania, in which, like, I'll remind you, only about halfway through the war does Osea invade Yuktobania, and they conquer half of the world's biggest nation in, like, 3 weeks, canonically. The Lighthouse War in Ace Combat 7 lasts an entire 7 months, and Ace Combat 4 has the longest war. The Continental War there lasts in like over 2 years. And then every Ace Combat after is just like blitzkrieg. I don't know. Like now that I know that, I feel like it's a negative on the stories. Now that I know that canonically everything is happening so fast, I guess you could say like in a world where every single conflict is like 99% weighted towards air forces, maybe it makes more sense. I'm now just thinking, like, in an Ace Combat universe, how much of a fucking failure do you have to be to not make it into the Air Force?
Ooh, fair enough.
You know? Like, where, in a world where every military is, like, 70% Air Force.
Although I'm pretty sure the washout rate's going to be pretty high when you get into, actual combat, that you just get scraped.
Yeah. During my last work trip, I actually had a good conversation with a coworker. Actually, Scott, friend of the show, who has been on here before. And we were talking about like the different ways that pilots would accumulate skill in World War I. And it was basically just that because they had such piss poor training, the guys who were lucky enough to survive one dogfight were suddenly like, your chances of getting shot down in your first flight are like 70%. And if you survive your first, your chances of getting shot down are now like 10%. Just like that tiniest little bit of experience. And I have to imagine it's the same thing with Ace Combat. So like every single, Ace Combat 5, how many nuggets die?
A
like
lot.
Screaming in your ear, my ear, as I'm like 13 years old.
A lot. You get desensitized to it pretty quick.
And yet, I never got desensitized to Chopper.
Also, thinking again about like the propagation of Balkan food. I mean, you have to remember that the countries that broke away from Belka to become their own independent states would have been, Balkan culturally, because
I wonder if they had some cultural or like ethnic differences, like if it was a kind.
Well,
if it was like a
have to be. I feel like there would have to be because it's one side of the mountain versus the other, right? I think that's what it was. Basically,
yeah,
like
but there would still be a pretty substantial
to
amount of like cultural overlap, even if there was.
There will be some, but I mean, if we think about I don't know, you just think about just regions of like German, right? Like you can still probably identify like regional differences. I mean, like in like France,
absolutely.
like any European country, really, like because like they weren't always like big unified with this overarching megaculture. It was more like localized cultural items. But
like,
yeah, I mean, you're right.
EU4 like Crusader Kings border gore used to be a thing, and now everything's been kind of like welded into vague nation-looking things.
Right. Which was like, how Germany was born. Germany was a fucking map slop until it became unified. So
Bismarck just looking at the map like just having an aesthetic hatred of it.
Give me a second. I'm getting on the Steam Workshop. I'm looking for something.
Oh no. Like I was saying, I had a lot of fun writing this. I had a lot of fun presenting this one. If you, the audience, if you, the patrons, enjoy this, I think this could easily be something that we do more of. Just because like I enjoy doing the video reviews, but I do think our bonus content, we should kind of branch out a little bit as we go, like a little bit more to offer. And at the same time, I don't really want to like paywall main history topics, brackets aside from the minisodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, patrons, thank you so much for listening to this.
If you like what you're hearing, sign up for us on patreon.bk.
Follow us on x.bk and
ask Brock if we're legit.
Bluesky.oa. We're on both. We're on both.
Fucking vk.yk.
Mastodon.usto.
We need to
figure out
right?
more of which website is from which strange reel. I know they're all .com in our world, but like it's gotta be intranet stuff.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? They're not all .com. You have a national subdomain, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or just national domain. It's not even a subdomain.
Oh god, what if instead of Amazon, like what if Grunder just evolves into the Amazon equivalent? Except all they sell is military hardware.
Yeah, that sounds like something they'd do.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
sounds something that's so distasteful to think about. That it sounds like
Grunder is just like, hell yeah, sign me up. The people who created artificial life and was just like, I know exactly what to do with this. We're gonna put it in a fighter jet. But yeah, listener, patron, thank you so much for embarking on this journey with us to an alternate world that all three of us care so deeply about. Goodbye.
Goodbye.